To me, innovation is more about getting the good idea, and it's probably not the hardest thing to do, get the ideas. But what is more complicated is more to try and find ways to implement this idea. So for me, it's idea, solution, and improvement. So to me, it's there's a bit of a lot of misconception and buzzword around innovation today, and we, especially for all big companies, large enterprise, we're always confused with invention. So to me, innovation is more about getting the good idea, and it's probably not the hardest thing to do, get the ideas. But what is more complicated is more to try and find ways to implement this idea, to create, to improve something, to actually create something new around it, and be seen from the outside as the creation of a new concept, a new business model, something that can be commercialized in order to improve your growth or your systems, your current activities. So to me, these are really the three main concepts that I like to look when we're talking about innovation, at least for my enterprise and our company. So that's difficult because there's so many things that has happened. I remember from 2000, 2010, when I got out of university, I found the world and innovation really boring. But since 2010, things are really have accelerated. We have seen so many drastic changes, paradigm changes in terms of digitalization, these things. But back to my field and the energy, I would say in the past 10 years, it's the introduction of IoT, all connected objects, measurement devices, sensors, all those objects that we can use for the last 10 years to really understand what's happening in our day-to-day life, but also for clients in our own production facilities, has completely changed the world. So now we are reaching to a point where we have all these data captured, and at the same time we created digital tools to make good use of those data, and that's a real innovation because we're trying to use it and for the good of everything, for our own business, for customers, for ourselves as citizens, and I think that's a big game changer for us. So yeah, that's a tricky question because I read that before and I was thinking, who could that be? So many people, especially when we look around the term innovation itself, if we consider improvement, idea, or if we consider invention. So I'll answer that one differently. Often, and when I was younger, I was always thinking, late at night, I don't sleep much in my bed, is if I had a company, who would be my ideal board? Who could I bring sitting at the table with me to discuss topic of my company? And there wouldn't be any timeline, so you can take deaf people or live people. And so I think I don't have one particular ideal innovation reference, but I would have probably a group of very impressive people, and I would probably start with Steve Jobs. I would put him in charge of marketing and relation to clients, because he's been doing a tremendous job. For us, that was a game changer. Imagine when you received your first iPhone. I mean, we all were very interested, because innovation, that's also is you have to have someone ready to pay for it. If no one has put the money on the table, it doesn't exist. So you might have very great ideas, but if you can monetize, it doesn't work. So I would have Steve Jobs on one hand. Then on the factory side, I would have probably Elon Musk, very good at rethinking the factory. because your product is one thing, but it's only as good as your factory is. So probably redesigning and engineering the means of production. And then obviously I would have an inventor, a genius guy to come with the new products, and probably I would choose Da Vinci for that. So those three would be great. And then I was thinking for strategy, movements in the market, understanding what are the new trends, what's the future. I would use Jeff Bezos probably as strategy and operations. So for these four would be a great board, I believe. Yeah. Very exciting, very interesting. I would have fun. So sometimes I think about that. Yeah, I would probably recommend to try, test and try things, because most of the time we remain in the ideation. So I would really recommend to go into the testing phase to see rapidly if it works, and just then decide quickly, fail and then discard it and move to something else. Otherwise, and that's typical from large companies, is we waste too much time either on ideation, and then after that thinking around this idea. You know this by heart, that's why you're also guiding large companies. The moment you really test and try, and you have, like I said before, you have someone ready to pay for it, for your innovation, then you know it's worth doing it. But unless you try, nothing really happens, and it's just constant brainstorming and noise. So that's what I would recommend, yeah.
So now the famous truth or dare question. Which one would you go for?
Truth.
So my truth question is, what is something you're obsessed with?
So I think obsessions change in time and with age. So I had different phases in my life. I think I'm obsessed with sports in general, but and activities, being active. So I'm really obsessed of being active, and started with kite surfing, for example, this kind of water sports. And lately, for the last few years, I'm really obsessed about yoga. So I'm practicing every day. It's a good thing for you to know about me, is I'm a yoga teacher as well. So now I don't teach, but yes, I've been trained as a yoga teacher.
Well, finally, what we can say, it's all about energy management.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Stephan.
Most welcome, Hervé. It was nice discussing with you this morning.
And you, what would you do to be more innovative in your organization? Share your comments, and don't forget to follow us and register on YouTube.